If you were to ask someone to name all the Brazilian teams that won the World Cup, the most likely answer you would get is the Brazilian team that won 3 out of 4 consecutive World Cups from 1958 to 1970, with the likes of Pelé and Garrincha leading them, or the squad of 2002, which had arguably the greatest 11 ever assembled donning the yellow and green. The Seleção, however, have won a total of 5 World Cups. The first 3 were brought home by Pelé and company, as they laid the foundation for Brazilians to be known for their football. The last one came thanks to the flamboyance and flashy style of football played by Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, and Rivaldo, and many more who introduced the world to Yoga Bonito. But the odd one out of the pack is Brazil's forgotten generation, who brought home the coveted trophy in 1994. 24 years after Pelé lifted his last in 1970, and greats like Zico and Socrates falling on the big stage, it was men led by Carlos Alberto Pereira that brought glory back to Brazil in 1994, but not in the way the Brazilians would have wanted. This wasn't what the world was used to seeing. This wasn't the samba style. The team sent to USA in 1994 lacked the usual flair and skillful tempo that had become synonymous with Brazil. Head coach Carlos Alberto Pereira wanted to imbibe discipline into his team, methodical and conservative in approach. His method of playing football was defensive, and he believed that the best form of defense is defense. Since this was the complete antithesis of everything Brazil has ever witnessed, his road was full of challenges. His first challenge was to get a team together that would click naturally. He tried playing with veterans, but the likes of Dunga, Bebeto, and Ricardo Rocha just did not click. He switched to the younger generation, but to no avail, and with no true team identity. Carlos led his team into the qualifiers, fielding a team of experienced players in a 4-4-2 formation. The Seleção got slaughtered, losing their first ever qualifier game to Bolivia. Their strikers were underperforming, and they needed a player that could do by himself what the others collectively couldn't. Cue the last piece of the 1994 jigsaw. The one guy that Carlos and his assistant Zagallo did not want to play to disciplinary reasons, Romario. Slotting into the team for the last game of the qualifiers, it was his brace that guaranteed Brazil a spot at the World Cup, with his goals being just enough for Brazil to pip Uruguay at Maracana. After they had qualified, Carlos would once again speak out to the media, saying it was only him who decide who would make the team and who didn't. His final team selection for the World Cup was an interesting one. He decided to go heavy on the experienced players, leaving out the likes of young Roberto Carlos, who showed plenty of promise. Brazil breezed through the group stage with 2 easy wins against Russia and Cameroon. Even though they were held to a 1-1 tie against Sweden, they moved on to the knockouts. They would face the USA in the round of 16, as the Americans put on a good fight on home soil. However, a bland match played out through 90 minutes was decided only by a solitary second-half goal by Bebeto, which would see Brazil move on to the quarterfinals, beating the Netherlands in the quarters thanks to a wonderful free kick by left-back Branco. Brazil moved on to the semis, where they once again met group stage opponent Sweden. Another relatively uneventful game played out that the Brazilians won thanks to a Romario header. The final played out between Italy and Brazil is the only World Cup final to remain goalless after full time and added time. The final is infamously famous for Roberto Baggio sending his penalty to the stands as his miss gifted Brazil the World Cup. The ever-flamboyant Brazil had won the World Cup by playing ordinary football. The world has plenty of reasons to forget the champions of 1994, the timid style of football, the lack of big-name players on the main stage, or the fact that Baggio skied his penalty. However, the team of Brazil 1994 went down in history as world champions, and that is something no one can take away from them. Thanks a lot for watching. We hope you learned something new about the Brazil 1994 generation. If you're new here, make sure to check out our channel for content on the beautiful game. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you in the next one.